words that we'll come across when we're handling strings. And some of them are the words substring, trim, replace, char index. We can also limitedly, very limitedly, and that could be just maybe for the purpose of play. Come across reverse is there though, reverse. Then we come across cast. And then we come across convert. We would see if we can do the first, if we can touch on the first 6. I doubt if we can touch on the last one because it involves quite a bit. The first one also involved the first, second, third. First, third, and first, second, third, fourth involve quite a lot. So we would see how it goes. If there is time, we would. If there isn't enough time, we can always continue with it and then add something else in the next lesson. Right. So like I said in the beginning, this is quite an important topic, and it's not only used in SQL, it's used across a number of data processing environments. So even like in the Power BI that we are doing, if you remember yesterday, was it yesterday we did Power BI with Mr. Ebenezer?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, we had a situation where we had to change a word because there were 2 variants of the word warehouse, if you remember. So that is part of data cleaning. Now, normally when you have data, like before we during the transformation process, part of the things or some of the exercises we do is what is called data cleansing. And most of these words here come into play when we're cleaning data. Fortunately, the data that we have, that we use in our Power BI is quite clean data. I've gone through it and I realize it's quite clean data. It hasn't got much. But when you get data from a whole range of sources, assuming you're given data for, let's say, Tesco's, imputed by all their sales reps in the various branches, you cannot guarantee that everybody would enter data in the same way. So there'll be different variants of the same data entered differently across the organization. Now, to present a good report, it's always good to clean the data so that when whatever A means in one set would mean A in each and every other set. So you wouldn't have the situation where you have A1, A2, A3, all meaning the same thing, but written differently in different sets. If you get what I'm trying to say. So that is part of the job of a data analyst, to clean data. And though we're looking at this in SQL, it's very important in SQL as well, but I'm just saying it as we are in a data class. So it's also very, very important for data analysts to clean data before it is loaded into the whatever application that we will use to change our data into whichever form we want it to be. Right. So what is substring? Remember I said, start thinking of the word, and if you can get a meaning of what it can tell us a meaning. Can anyone tell us what substring might mean? Can anyone tell us what it might mean? Oh gosh, help me, help me. Somebody help me. Right, what's the meaning of the sub? What's the meaning of the word sub?
A part.
A part. So substring is simply a part of a string. Now, we come across strings in each and every aspect of our lives. And so we deal with it on the regular basis. And sometimes we don't just want every part of a word, we want certain parts of it. We want certain variations of it. Right. So that is what the substring is actually used for. And you would soon see the power of the substring when we start using it. Let me go into my database here. Let me see if, okay, let me check this one out first. Right, I'll just go into this other one. I'll just go into this one. Right. So let's run a query. Let's first of all say we want to select star. Wrong. Remember, is the fields we are dealing with, right? Is the column headers, is the fields. That's what gives us an idea of what kind of data that we have. So let's execute this and see, just to give us an idea. When you look at the result, you'll see that if you take employee number, for example, it's made up of alphabetical characters and then numeric characters. So we can decide to separate the alphabetical characters from the numerical ones. We can decide to split them up, and the substring comes into play here. So if yes, somebody has their hands up. Nike.
Please, how can we get the database?
Which one?
The one you're using.
Oh dear, I've been asked this question before. And I said, I'll see if I can get it to you. Actually, I could have also have used, I'll see if I can get it to you, right? But I did say some time ago that I have an NDA on it. That is why I'm not so willing to, because it's for I got it from an organization. So, but I'll see how I can get it to you. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Right. But then it doesn't really matter. You would have the same. All you need to do is, if, for example, the database that Mr. Ebenezer gave us, I think I have some examples from that one too that we can use. Let me see. I have actually run all of this already. Is there anything here that we can use? Yep, there is. Yes, there is. And you would see, we would do that. We would use that database too, okay? We would use that one. And then you would see. So if you look at this column, the second column, it's made up of two parts. Alphabetic, numeric. We can decide to split this using the substring. And you would come across that in database a lot, in data analysis a lot. For example, in a case where you have first name and surname, you have full name in one column. Assuming you want to split the first name from the surname, you want to have different columns for that. You use a substring query. Now, in things like Power BI, Excel, and the Power Query, Power BI has a Power Query, Excel has a Power Query. I'm not sure what Tableau has because I haven't seen that yet. But Excel also has a Power Query editor. You can use in splitting up characters. Now, the whole idea is based on this substring. So though, like in the Power Query editor that we use, it is done automatically. The code behind it is the substring code. Right? We just click on things and then it happens. But if we were to actually write code to extract the information, is the substring code that we will be writing. Right, so how do we go about this? So assuming we want to split this up, right? So let me repeat this. And then I come here. This time around, I don't want all the data. I'm just focusing on the employee number. That's all I want to work with. So select employee number. Right? That's all I want to work with at this point. And we use the substring keyword. Substring. What are we looking to extract from? We are looking to extract a part of data from employee number, right? So in here, we write employee number. Just as it is written in the field name. Remember literals? We spoke about literals some time ago. Now, what are we looking to extract? We want to extract this character, the leading character here, from the rest. Is that right? So the leading character is in position 1. And how many characters are we looking to extract? 1. Is that making sense? So what do we call this? Let's call this as substring. Obviously you can't write the full word. Otherwise it defaults to this and creates confusion. So let's leave it as this substring alphabet. Alphabet. We just want the alphabetical section of the employee number. We just want that bit only. So let's see what we get when we run this query. So it has split it up and given us just this one. Right. Now, this can go further. Sorry. Assuming I wanted the first two characters. Assuming I wanted the first two. So this number here is the starting point, and that would be the number of characters required. So assuming I wanted the first two characters, I just change this to 2. And then substring first 2. First 2. Do we get that? It gives us the first two characters. Right. Assuming I wanted everything. How many characters are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know if there are more than 6, but there might be. I'm not sure. I haven't counted everything, so I don't know. But assuming there were, then let's say 6, 7, 8, 8. You see, this gives us that, almost the same thing as what we have here. But in this particular instance, we really don't know whether 8, like I said, I want everything. I don't know whether 8 is everything or more than or less than, because I have just chosen an arbitrary number. I'm not sure what it is because I haven't gone through each rule to find out how many characters there are. So if you want everything, this is you can see a clear limitation here, and we would soon see how we can get around that. Now, assuming I wanted to start from the second character, assuming I wanted just the numbers, I didn't want the alphabetical part of it, what would I do? I just wonder, so what is the first, which position is the first numerical value in? Can anyone tell us?
2. Not 2.
It's in position 2. So let's say we want some from position 2 to, let's say, position 7. And let's see what we get there. That gives us just the numerical part of it. Gives us just the numerical part of it. So are you getting an idea how powerful this can be? It can be really, really, really powerful. Let me just have a look at what I have here. Right, so let's do 2 more things and then we can bring in something else. Let's do 2 more things. You remember I said that this query we run here has got limitations. It has limitations. Now, what are the limitations? You want to have a dynamic way of extracting your strings such that you don't have to be counting the number of characters. So that even if there were 100 characters, it would work. If there were 1,000,000 characters, it would work. Right? Now, how do we go around that? Now, there is another word which is called len, which stands for length. Length. So if we were to, for example, One moment. Let me gray that out. Len. Len stands for length, okay? And we have employee number.
Sorry, can I pause you?
Yes, please, you can.
If you want to deselect a query, how do you do that?
Okay, you've selected a query.
Yeah, so you say you selected a query and you just want to make it non-active. You want to
You want to
deselect.
make it active again. You see, like this one, I've deselected this one.
Mhm.
There are a number of ways you can do that. There are about 3-4 ways. This is one of them, right? So if I want to deselect this, all I do is take this away, right? Another way, if I want to deselect this, I can take that. Did you see what I just did?
Does it go back? Yeah.
You click on that one, this here.
Yeah.
Can you
Yeah.
see where the cursor is?
Yeah. Yeah. I can see.
Right. So this one is to select,
Okay. That's to go
and that
back.
one is to deselect.
Okay. Thank you.
Another thing you can do, and this one you normally use in block. When you have a block of a long, a number of, you can do that. And then end it with, you can do that. That will also uncomment.
So we can use the
Uncomment it.
/* and */ to end it.
Yep. So for example, if I were to come here and I were to put, if I was to put this here, /*, it will comment everything out.
Thank you. That's great.
That's okay. Right, let me just take this out so it doesn't create confusion. Let me just create this, take this out for now. Right, so what is this going to give us? Let's see what this query here might give us. What is that telling us? Now, what this is telling, okay, let me rerun this as when you don't name the column, it just comes like this, column, no column name. That's what, so you can always, you may decide to leave it like that, or you can name your column as length of character, len car. Right. So here it tells us that this is 6 characters. And if you count, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have a lot of 6s. I think there are a few 7s, and there are a few 5s. The majority 6, 7s, just a few of those. But that's not really the issue here. The issue here is trying to make this query as dynamic as possible so that we don't have to be counting characters. So if this were 100 characters, it would still work, right? Now, if I now introduce the substring into this. Okay, let me copy this again. If I bring in a substring here, substring, and then I'm still looking at the employee number, right? Employee number. That is where I want my substring from. I want my substring from the employee number. Now, assuming I want to start from, you see, where we started from character 2, right? Where we started from character 2. Assuming I wanted, again, to start from character 2. And I want to make it dynamic, such that I wouldn't have to be counting where I would stop, like in this particular case. Right. So instead of writing 7 here, what I would do is, you see, the whole of this character is how many letters? Is how many characters? Here it is 6, right? In other places it is 7. In other places it is 5. But we are only looking for in this particular query that we are running, we are only looking for the numeric part. We know the length of each and every employee number, right? Now, but we want to make this length a dynamic length, such that we can just write a query which satisfies every single number that this could possibly be. So if this is the length of character, forget about the number 6 now. If this is the length of character, right? And this is the employee number, how do you think I can get just the numeric characters here? What will I write? What formula will I use to get just this here? The whole of this is the length of character. I just want this bit. I have a formula for the length of character. Len employee number. That's the formula for the length of character. Can anyone help us?
Length of character minus what?
Minus.
Minus what?
Beautiful. That's all I'm expecting. That's all I'm expecting. So this is length of character. So all you do is just copy this here. This is length of character. Copy it. Paste here. Subtract 1. That gives you just the length of this bit here. But remember, this has an opening bracket here. Put your bracket, otherwise the query would fail. Right? So we have written this one, and this is a dynamic substring. It's a dynamic substring.
I have a question, Godwin.
Yes, please go on.
So when you're writing your query, the substring and the len, I noticed that they've been indented. So did that happen automatically when you put the comma?
No, I did.
Or,
I did the indentation.
you indented?
Remember when we started SQL, I gave a number of foundational rules. So all of this here is a
Yes.
part of the select query.
Okay.
So it comes under that.
Okay. So we have to do the indentation
Yeah.
manually. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other question? Now, if we run this, you would see that. So here we are looking for just the substring of this, right? Let's see what happens. Do you see what we have? We are starting from character 2. That is why it has given us this. It has read it automatically. We're starting from character 2 all down. And then we are telling it that it should take the whole length. Because we are starting from character 2, take the whole length of the character, but start from character 2 and minus the first character, which is -1. And that gives us this, which is what we got here. But this is by far more useful than this here. So if this were 1 million characters, it would work perfectly. Any questions so far? Any questions?
Oh, it's just, I'm sorry. What does len do?
Pardon?
Len, what's the purpose? Like, what does it fully mean? Because I don't really understand.
Len is length.
Length.
Length. The length. The length. Length.
Or the length of what? Sorry.
Of the character.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
How do I number this now? 1.1, okay? Shouldn't be 1.1. I would have loved for it to be 2, but I don't want to change anything. Length. This stands for length. Any questions so far? All right, let's continue. Now, another thing that we can do. Let's take these out. Or let me just gray it. Let me just comment it out. Let me just comment these out. We can also use the left. We can get the left part of a character under the substring. We get the left part of a character or the right part of a character. Right. So what do we do? How do we get that? Left. And we want employee number. Employee number. and we want the first character. As left of character. Let me take these out, actually. Let me take this out. We don't need it now. That gives us this, which is exactly the same as the first substring that we run. This one. But this here is much more powerful than that. We can also use this to get the right character. Just change this to right. Where do we want to start from? Let's say we want to start from 2. And let's see what we get. We want 2 from the right. That gives us the last 2. Oh gosh, I called it left, the same left. This should be right, okay? R-I-G-H-T. R-I-G-H-T. This should be right. The last 2, we want the last 2, right? From the right. That is what this does. Any questions so far? Let me see where I can bring in something from our database. Yep. I think I got something here. I got something from dim employee. So we can use that. We can use that. Dim employee, where are you? So let's change our source. Let's change our source. I don't remember the exact query I run, but let me just go back and see what I did. Yeah, substring. I did a substring on right. Let me just run this first before we see what we can use there. Let's run this and then we see what we can use. What things we can use. We want a substring. We want something that will give us a part of. So we're using the substring in this case. So if we look here, none of these seem to be able to give us a part of. It's not like they can't, but we want very distinct things. So what I found was I found something. Yep, I found this. Yep, this one. The login ID. So assuming you want your employees to just keep their login maybe secret. You don't want anybody to know the full login of any other employee. You can use a substring, quite okay. You can use the substring. You can use the substring to just extract part of the characters. So let's go back and see how we can employ the substring here. So let's take this one, for example. Now, in this case, we said what? Substring starting from character 1, it should produce 1 character, right? Let's go down here. We want the full part of, see what we're gonna do. It's not employee. We are looking for, we want to take from login, okay? So we want to take from login ID. Login. Login ID. That's where we want to take from. So obviously this must also change, right? Login ID. And if you look at it carefully, login ID, how many, assuming we want just, you see there's a slash. Assuming we want just the characters before the slash. How many characters are there before the slash? 2. So we start from character 1 and we want to return 2 characters. Right? We start from character 1, we want to return 2 characters. When we run this, you would see that it produces just that. It produces just that. Okay. Any questions so far? No questions. Let's see again what we can do more. Again here, we can still, just like we did, we use the len to make it dynamic. We can again make this dynamic. We can have a dynamic substring under this also. So let me just copy all of this so as to not to waste time, and then I would explain what happened there. So here what it is that we have the login ID just like this here. But remember, we use the len to find the length of a string. Where did we do that? We did that here, right? We found the length of a string, len employee number as len of character. That gives us the length of the string, okay? And then we said that if we want to make our search dynamic, then instead of...
Sorry, can I ask you a question?
Yes, please do.
So the substring that the first the query you did on Adventure Works. So what my question is, I could see that you actually where is it again? You used the substring, you didn't write it in full. So is it okay to do that?
When you say I didn't write it in full, what exactly do you mean?
Like the ADW, is that Adventure Work database, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can do that and not write in full, just write few words.
No. I just wanted the first 2. Remember, I said I wanted the first 2 characters.
Yeah, I understand that. But what I'm saying is when you wrote the query, yeah, you put in there substr. So you didn't say substring. And then you put underscore ADW, if I'm right.
I don't get you. You mean here?
Not there. Look at the query there.
Okay, here.
Yeah, there.
Yeah, this is substring,
Yeah.
and we're working on the login. And
Okay.
we are saying that under the login,
Mm-hmm.
starting from the first character, we
Mm-hmm.
want the first two characters. And
Yeah.
we want to name that column or that field sub-login 1. So I actually wanted to do other queries. So we could also take the last bit.
Okay. Can you go up a little bit?
Okay.
My question is not being answered yet, please.
You want me to go more?
It's no longer there. I saw it now. Okay. Right. So
Okay, you mean maybe on this here.
yeah, that one. Yeah,
Oh
exactly.
no, forget about it. Look at it. I named this here ADW1 and I've named it here. It doesn't matter at all. I could name this ADW1 and it will come out the same way.
Sorry, what's the purpose of the substring?
Pardon?
What's the purpose of the substring?
One moment. Do you see that it has changed?
Okay, so you name it as that.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
If you don't put a name there, if you don't put anything there, see what happens. No column name.
No column.
It will give you the results, but it doesn't name the column. And you don't want that. Assuming you're running a report, you don't want that your column hasn't got a name, your field has no name. That is not good reporting, is it?
Yeah, so my question there now is, you see where you pull substring, you didn't write it as string. You didn't complete that statement, that word.
Like here.
Yes.
Okay.
It's okay to do that.
If I were to do that, see what is going to happen.
Yeah.
Substring.
Yeah.
ing. Oh, small letters. You see, this one is the same as that. And that is not good. You can't have that happening, which is why you shorten it. And you can name it anything. I've just decided to name it substring numeric dynamic, just so that you can name it anything. You can name it ABCD.
Thank you.
You can name it anything. It would work. Do you get that?
Thank you.
Okay, but let's look at this in bits. Let's look at it in bits. I think we've jumped steps here. I wanted to do this in bits. So let me take this out. And somebody wanted to ask a question. A gentleman wanted to ask a question.
Yeah, sorry. What does the substring do? I don't understand that.
Right, the substring. What's the meaning of what's your understanding of the prefix sub?
Below or like type of something.
What?
The type of something like substring B, the type of
The type.
Maybe. Yeah.
Okay, so you are looking at it in terms of subsidiary. But it could also mean something. Okay. Yeah, the type, the part. It's what it means here is part of something. Sub.
Yeah.
Right? Sub.
Yeah.
Is a part of something.
But when you put like the brackets, the login ID, then free the len login ID, so -1.
I can hardly hear you.
Oh, sorry. When you put after you put substrings, you put like login ID, free len login ID.
Okay, forget
-1.
about that. Forget about that for now. Let me take that out.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Let me take that out for now.
I was a bit confused. Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand.
Yeah.
Remember we did this here where we said We did this, we first of all run this query. We run this query. And that gives us, we starting from the employee number, we said we don't want the first letter. We just want the numeric parts. So in wanting the numeric parts, what did we do? We needed to start from, or what did we have to do? We needed to start from the second character in this particular instance. To start from the second character to the last. Right? So the second character, this number here, this first number represents the second character, the starting point in the query that we are writing. And how many characters do we need or do we want to return? We have given an arbitrary number here, 7. So essentially what we are saying by this here is that if there were 20 characters here, this would have only resulted in 7 characters. It would have only returned 7 of those characters, starting from the second. Does that make sense?
Yeah, kind of. But you know,
Okay.
the employee number.
No, that's this one. Just this very one, this explanation. Does it make sense so far?
Yeah, so far, yeah, it does.
Okay. Now, if it makes sense so far, then let's take it one step further. So, given that if we had 20 characters here, and we said from second to 7, from the second character, we want 7 characters. Because we don't know how many, for example, you see, there are how many rows are here? 136 rows of data. I can only see the first 16. I cannot see the rest. So chances are that there could be characters here that are 20. There could be employee numbers here that are 20 characters long. I don't know that because I can't see everything. Is that making sense? So
yeah.
Instead of having a hard number here, 7, we want to make it dynamic so that irrespective of the number of characters that we have here, it would always produce the results that we want. And that is where len came in. So our len, which is length, len is simply the length of the character. So here, for example, if I run this query, what we are saying is that select employee number, find the length of employee number. That means that how many characters are there in employee number? Find the length, right? So instead of having a fixed number here, we are imputing a formula. That formula should work for everything. That is our aim. Is that clear?
Yeah, yes. But
okay.
There's just one thing I don't understand. So
Okay.
you put 27, but then
Pardon?
I wouldn't say that sorry, so you know the brackets you put number 2 and number 7.
Mm-hmm.
But there's only 6 characters in there, so
It doesn't
I'm
matter
not
at
sure
all.
how
I could
you
have
would
put
get the
10.
7.
I could have put 10. Here I put 8. The same thing. It doesn't matter at all. I could have put 10. And it would have yielded the same results that is here. Which is why this is not a good way of representing that. So if I had put 3 here, it would have returned Let's see what it will return. It returns just the second, third, and fourth characters. Do you get that? Starting from the second, return 3 characters.
Oh yeah, I think I understand that. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
Okay. Now, starting from the, so what we are saying is that because we wouldn't, assuming you have a database of 1 million rows, you wouldn't be able to do this. This will not work every time. Right? Which is why you have to have a formula, or you have to have a dynamic way of working this out, such that it would work for any instance of the employee number, or any instance of the field. It should work for it. And that is what this does. So the len here is saying that find the length of the employee number. So if we run this, it will just give us the length of the employee number. This is telling us that this employee number has 6 characters. This has 6. And when we scroll down earlier on, we saw that there were some with 7, like this one, and some with 5. But there could have been some with 20, some with 100, some with 1 million. Fortunately, we don't have that case in this database. But that does not mean that we could not have had it. Right. So what the len does here is that it's, instead of writing hard numbers like this, you use a flexible formula. So with your len, you come here, you now want to get the employee number in a dynamic way. Remember this part of the query is what is here. Okay? You now bring in your substring, employee number. You want to start from character 2. Just as you started from character 2 here. Am I making sense? Again, you want to start from character 2. Instead of writing a hard number, you bring in the len. Which is dynamic, which works for every number of characters that you have. Right? But then, mind you, this len is for the full employee number. We are saying that we should start from character 2. So if we are starting from character 2, then this len, then we have to subtract 1 from this len to get the number of characters that are remaining. True or false? Have I lost you? Who understands what I'm saying? Who gets the gist? Are we all still here?
Yeah, we're here. Thank you.
The class is quiet. Oh, gosh. Yeah, who asked the question? What's the name of the person?
Oh,
Is it Albert or
I think it was Sultani. I'm not sure.
Sultani? Okay. Sultani, is it getting clearer?
But yeah, I'm just like trying to process all of this. I think that's what people think.
Okay. If you don't get it, just say it. We'll go over. No problem. Yeah, I can understand. This thing can be, this substring is a big thing. But it's still foundational actually in SQL. But it's a big, once you get a hang of it, it's very great. It's a big tool. It's a great tool to have. You can use it to do anything in You can use it to, it gives you a good idea of data cleansing and data manipulation, actually. Right, so it's the same idea that we are using here, that we are using in the Adventure World. Is it Adventure World? Works. Adventure Works database. It's the same thing we are using here. So in this particular case, we just found, we selected all from the employee, dim employee. Now that was with the view to get which field we can work on. And we realized that we can work on the login ID, because the login ID is made up of two parts or a number of parts. So if we run this, this is the login ID, right? We can see that the login ID has got this part here, and then it's another part. This part looks, the reason why I think this can be separated is this part is made up of caps and the other part's lowercase letters, separated by a backslash. So I thought, well, okay, this is something we can work with. We can take this part out and separate the two sections. So if we want to do that, one way is to use the substring to get, if we use the substring to get the first login detail, this one gives us the first two parts. This query here gives us the first two parts. Right? Now, this query here gives us the length of characters inside the login ID. It gives us the length of characters in the login ID. So here we are not looking for the numbers. We are essentially not looking for the numbers here. We are just looking for the formula that produces these numbers, so that we can use this formula to write a dynamic query. Is that making sense? Which is what leads to this. So if now I write this, and to get my dynamic query, I need to take the substring. I want part of this string, remember? I want part of this string of the login ID. I want to start from the character 3, and I want everything that is left. I don't know how many characters are left, so I wouldn't be able to boldly specify that I want 8 characters or 10 or 20, like we have done in these cases, right? We wouldn't be able to make that specification because we simply don't know. So I take the substring, I take my, I take the field that I want my substring from. I take the character, the position of the character that I want to start from, and I take the number of characters that I want. So this here, this len here gives us all the characters after. Actually, this should be -2 because there are 2 characters. It should be -2, not 1.
I have a question, Godwin.
Yes, please, go ahead.
So regarding this dynamic query, where we want it to be applicable irrespective of the length of the character, because we have put a position after the login ID, do we still need to put the -1 or 2? because the position automatically tells the query where to start from. Because I've tried it without the minus and it works the same. So I was just wondering if we need.
All right, so, let's see.
Yeah.
You want to start from position 3. Then length of login ID. Are you sure? Are you positive about that? Okay, let's try it and see. Let's try it and see. Let's try it and see. Well, I have reservations about that though. Whilst it worked, I'm not sure. Starting from position 3. Length of login ID. No, it doesn't, because the length is everything, isn't it? The length is supposed to be everything. So
Yeah,
I'm
but
not
we told it where to start from. So
Pardon?
it's everything, yes, the length. But because we've
Yeah.
told it to start from position 3, so that
Because we've told you to
automatically,
start from position 3.
yeah, so
So
that
that's the
automatically
argument, right?
means it wouldn't pick up the first 2 characters
Mm.
anyway.
Yeah, I think you have a point there, actually. You have a point there. I'll look into that. I don't know why it worked. I didn't expect it to work. I honestly didn't expect it to work. I don't know why it worked, but let's see. Why would it work? Would there be a reason? We started from position 3, and then we want the whole length. Okay, so maybe the position played a part in that decision. Let's say we want to start from position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's say we want to start from position 7. Let's see what would happen. If that works, then your assumption could be right. Okay, let's remove the position from there. I think I'm kind of getting yeah, I think I see why that is working. Let's remove the position and see if that would work. -2. That's even not going to work at all. It's not going to work. No, that's not going to work. That's not gonna work. Yeah, Juliet, I think I think I see your point. Yep, I see it. Okay. That's a fair point. That's a good point, though. I didn't expect it to work, but it has. So yeah, that's good. We are learning every day. We're learning all the time. Okay, let's make some progress. Are we okay with this, though? Juliet has just taught us something. We can do without this minus. We can do without that. So this would work it will work because we have specified the starting position. So we are asking is to return whatever is left. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. But I would, for safety, for the sake of safety, yeah, that's why I think this this could be a more robust formula. Just for the sake of safety. But yeah, it's worked and it's worked. Right, let's see other things. Let's check other things. Now let's look at a few other words. Have we done left and right? I think we have done left and right, right? We did left, we did right. Did we do left and right? Yeah, we did left, we did right. Now let's do cases, changing the case. So assuming you have a data set and then you have different character cases, some upper, some lower, you want to have uniformity in the way your cases are presented. So you need to be able to, with just one query, change the cases of your character. So let's say we select. Let's go back to what can we use? Let me see if we can use. Yeah, we can use this. We can use that. We can use this. So let's still use dim employee. Select. What is the name of the table? Select. The name of the table I'm looking for. Yeah, the name of the table is employee. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? I want to use something that we would all be okay with. Right, the table is dim employee. And we want to look for first name, for example. Select from, select first name. First name. First name. Okay, because I haven't chosen the table yet, it's not coming up. Select first name. From dim employee. You see how one mistake can frustrate you? I didn't know that this was for. It should be from. And so it's not coming up and I'm wondering, why is it not just coming up? It should just show up. So if we take this, for example, we run it, we have the first name here. See the first name under dim of the employees in the dim employee table. We can, for example, change this. Upper. All of these, we can make everything uppercase. Upper first name. So when we make everything first name, as you first name. Okay. In the same way, we can make everything lowercase just by changing this to lower. Okay. Right. Now we come to the use of the word trim, which is a very, very important concept. You will come across this a lot when you are doing data cleaning. Trim. How do you trim your data? Why would you have to trim data? Let me go. I couldn't find any instance of that here. Like I said right from the beginning, the data that we were presented by Mr. Ebenezer is quite clean data. So, and I can understand why it's clean. It's already clean so that we can just do transformations on it and then load into our Power Query. But for the purpose of training, we would intentionally create instances where we can have cases to use to train. Right, so this one, for example, gives us that flexibility. Let me select something from that table. Let's see what is under here first. Select. Let me select something. What do I want to select? Okay, let's do something. Select all. I want to use this table. I want to use the company locations table. So when we run this, we get everything we have on the company locations. Now, I want you to look carefully at this table. Can you tell us any field on which you think we can, any field that seems to be in confusion?
The updated date.
Pardon?
Updated date.
Why do you think that would be in confusion?
No, not that one actually. It will be company thingy, the first one.
Yeah, company string, because look at it. It's made up, it's modeled up, isn't it? The whole thing is so modeled up. It's unbelievable that anyone would enter data like this. But like I said, for the purpose of trading, a table like this can easily be created just to show what can be done and what needs to be done when you come across something like this. Right. So this is where we come in with trimming. Now, also, if you look under sales name, look under sales name. That is also another table. Now, if you're working with Excel, how do alphabetic characters align? What is the default position, default alignment for alphabetic characters?
Left.
To the left. Right. So assuming this was in Excel, all of these would align perfectly to the left, right? Do we think that is the case here?
No.
What is out of place?
There are spaces between some of the entries, before some of the entries.
Yeah. So you see that, for example, this one has space here, this has space there, that has space there, and there also might be spaces here. We don't see it, but there's that possibility. If this mistake can be made, then that mistake can also be made. Right? So that is where the word trim comes in. The word trim, there are three versions of trim. There are three versions of it. We have the left trim. The left trim is to trim characters to the left or spaces to the left of characters, right? Then we have the right trim, which will trim spaces to the right of characters. And we just have trim. We would see what trim does. So let's first of all look at trim, left trim. We want to select, let's do salesman name. Let's do salesman name. Salesman name. And we want to trim that. We want to do the left trim. So instead of writing left trim, we just write L trim. Okay, that stands for left trim. Left trim. What do we want to trim? We want to trim salesman's name. Okay. Salesman name. That is what we want to trim. And then we close the bracket. So if we were to run, okay, let me give it a name so that this would remain as L trim, salesman. So we are saying you should select just the salesman's name and then trim. You see that this is aligned. Everything is now aligned to the left. Can we see that? So in much the same way, we can do a right trim, though this would not be very evident because we have so much space and we don't necessarily need to fill up those spaces, but you would see, just take a hard look and tell me if you notice any difference. You know what? Let me do both so that both would show. Do we notice any difference? Hard to say for the right trim because there's so much space, we really don't know. And also because the spaces are determined by the length of the characters in some of the records. So we cannot say categorically that there hasn't been any trimming done on the right. But if it was a case that there was clear space, it would have trimmed it. Now we can also use just the trim. Now the work of trim is, it does both the left and the right. So trim, you don't need left or right. You just write trim, and this does both. So that is trim. Also very, very important because when we do though because we would use a Power Query, we wouldn't really be writing these queries, but these are the formulas behind the execution of those moves that we make in the Power Query. Any questions so far? Any questions so far?
Wait, sorry, can you just go back to like the trim?
I should go back to the trim.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just reading over.
Yep. Let me know when you want me to go on, okay? So the trim it cuts off both the leading and trailing spaces. It's used in cutting off both leading and trailing spaces. Removes. Let me use removes instead of cuts. Removes both leading and trailing spaces. Okay. I think we can go on Sultan, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay. Another important word is the word replace. And we actually did that yesterday when we replaced one of the warehouses with another one. We did that yesterday. So yeah, it's the same concept here. Right. So what do we use replace for? We can use replace to just replace anything that we want. So for example, in this data set here, if you look hard enough, you would see that there are certain unwanted characters. One of them is the ampersand. Can you see that? Another one, if you look hard enough, it's hard to see it from my end. I cannot see clearly unless I look really, really hard. There are full stops here, full stop here, full stop there. Yep, I can see two full stops. Or let me say one, because this is the main table. So the replace is used in replacing just anything. You can use it to replace anything with, but you have to replace it with another thing. So you cannot just use replace and think it would go. Once you use the word replace means that you are putting something in place of another, right? So this is used in replacing symbols, characters, etc. Okay. And how do we use it? How do we use it? Again, let's stick to this table and see how we can use that. So let me see. Looking for something to replace something quite evident. Right. So instead of, let's just do this. Instead of these spaces too, like these spaces here, instead of using the trim, we can use the replace. Replace. What do we want to replace? Within salesman, we want to replace where there are spaces. Within the salesman, where there are double spaces, we want to replace with single space. Can you see the difference? This is a double space, right? I've left two spaces here. Okay, let me. Replace. Rep. salesman's name. I have used this query to achieve the exact same thing as this one here, as the left stream. As a left stream. But replace has got a lot more uses than just streaming. It has a lot more. So when you can combine your replace with trimming, and you can achieve very wonderful results. So for example, in this particular case, okay, let me do this one. Let me do this one before we put it together. Replace in salesman name, replace where you have the ampersand, replace it with replace it with and. Let me call it clean name. Just anything. I just decided to call it anything. So you see this, it has replaced that with that. The ampersand has been replaced with that, with and. So you can combine, replace, and trim to achieve fantastic results, actually. Let's see how we can do that.
Hi, Godwin.
Yes, please.
So if we are trying to use replace to remove spaces, like the second query that
Like
you
here,
have,
this one.
yeah,
Mhm.
then we would need to know how many spaces there are, don't we?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, which we can't always be able
Which we
to
can't
find.
always know, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is why the trim works here.
Yeah. Okay.
The
Thank
trim
you.
works better here, right? But just to show that replace can also be used. So this is replacing a double space with a single space. Yeah. You see that when we run the other query, it's come back to the default position, the previous position. Yeah. So let's see how we can combine this with that. Let's copy this stream formula. Let's copy this one and see how we can use it with replace. Oh, okay. Let me just copy everything here. What do we want to replace? Trim. Let me take these out. No, let me leave it. As a double space, trim. No. 1, 2, 3. So there should be another a closing bracket here. Replace, trim. Something is missing somewhere. Let me see. Replace. Trim salesman name. Okay. Okay, I get it. Trim salesman's name. Now, let me just, I think this copying has scattered everything for me. Okay, so we select from sales, we select salesman's name from company locations. Company locations. And we want to replace. We want to first of all trim. We want to trim salesman's name. Salesman. Salesman name. Right? We want to trim that. So once that is trimmed, we then want to replace. So all of this will be in a bracket. What do we want to replace in the next query? We want to replace spaces, double spaces with single space. And we close the bracket. As salesman replace. Why is this underlined? Okay, I've written replaced. Okay, it's worked now. So just that single word, I put a P here and it scattered everything, see? Oh God.
Sorry, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Oh, what's the colons for? Because like when you
What is the,
execute it, there's no like, oh, not colons, the apostrophes. Like when you execute it, there's no apostrophes with it.
I
Like,
can't hear
what are you
you.
actually like replace? Oh, so like, you know the apostrophes that you put like the red signs, yeah. What is
Okay,
it
yeah.
actually like used for? Yeah, because
No,
like when you
these are
execute
just,
it like
these are
that,
spaces. They are using,
spaces.
so a space is basically a string. You enclose your strings in inverted commas.
Okay, that's
Yeah. So this is a
yeah,
space. This is a double space here. That's a single space there.
okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're asking you to first of all trim salesman and then remove double spaces if there are any. But we can, that gives us this one. You would see the beauty of this thing is that you can build and build and build upon this formula to make it really, really, really a great formula. So we can use the same formula here. We can keep building our replace to replace anything that we don't want within our formula, within our database. Anything that we don't want. What else do we want to replace? So all you do is you put another replace and put the one you had there before in brackets. So you put an opening bracket, you must put a closing bracket when you finish. Now, the first stops here. So you put a comma, and then what is it that you want to replace this time around? The first time we replaced empty spaces, we replaced double spaces with single space. So this time around, like I said, we have full stops in some of the, behind some of the words. So let's replace full stops. That's a full stop there, right? The full stop is a string. We want to replace it with an empty space. Let me just call this replace 2 to differentiate it from the other one. Why is this underlined? Oh, okay. Do you see why it's underlined? Who can tell me why it's underlined? Can anybody guess why? We didn't put the closing brackets. And just that single thing could throw everything up, and then you would think you've made such a grievous mistake. It just means you need to look hard sometimes. So look at this carefully. I'm not sure if anybody can see this full stop here. Can anyone see it? Can anyone see it?
Yeah, yeah.
You can, yeah? Okay, let's see if it would go, because we are asking the system to replace the full stop with an empty space. Let's see if it would do that. You see where the full stop is here? In this case, has it gone or is still there? It's gone. And again, we can still build on this. We can still build on this. And we can use this to remove that or to replace that. You can either remove it or replace it. So again, we put another replace in front of this. Put your brackets. So you must put another bracket at the end when you finish. What do you put a comma at the end of the last statement. What is it that we want to replace? We want to replace the ampersand. So you put it in quotation marks. That stands for putting something in a string. And what do we want to replace it with? What is it that we want to replace the ampersand with? Let's say we want to replace it with and. Have we finished? This tells us that we haven't finished. And what is left? The closing brackets. right? So we can run this again, and then we can see what we get. So we have this, it's now replaced, and it's become that. Okay. Any questions so far?
Okay, I have one question. So,
Yes, please.
the free replaces and the trim. Wait,
Pardon?
how complicated would it be? Like this whole
Pardon?
system. Like how complicated is the whole setting from 100 line 120 to 124?
Line
Because like I
100
feel like
and
this
what?
20 to 124.
Mm-hmm.
Like how like complicated is it like in terms
It's
of
not
SQL?
complicated at all.
It's,
Look,
oh,
follow
it's
it
just
step by step and see what we are doing. We are just putting replace, and then we say what we want to replace with what we want to have in place of what we have replaced. But
oh, okay,
let
that's
me
two.
make this 3 so that it doesn't. Let me make this 3. This is a third
Yeah,
one.
free. Yeah, I think yeah.
Let me make
Yeah,
this.
that makes more sense. Yeah. Oh yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not complicated at all. It's just to have a hang of it, and then keep an eye for detail. Like, don't miss your commas. So the first time when I was mixing up my commas, and it was sort of creating problems. But when you don't miss your commas, you don't miss your inverted your quotation marks, then you are good to go. Yep. So you can keep building this and building and building and building until you have your clean data. At this point, I think we have replaced everything replaceable. So this is quite okay. We can just end this here. We can just end this here. Do we stop or we continue? How many people are in Nigeria now? How many of us are in Nigeria? So that's like 12 o'clock in Nigeria, right? So
Yeah,
do we stop or we continue for like 15 more minutes? What do you think? I want an opinion, please.
it's 12 o'clock already where I am. So
It's 12 o'clock where you are, right?
yeah,
In Nigeria, right?
no, in France.
In France. Okay. Right, so let's stop here. So next time we will look at char index. I thought I could finish char index today. So we take whatever is left to the next topic, which is, so we've done string handling. We will see date handling in the next lesson. If there is time, we need to finish this. We haven't finished string handling. So we need to finish this, then we will see date handling. Date handling is very interesting. You don't need a database for date handling. You just need your laptop and your database server. You don't need it. You don't need a database. Like you don't need this. You just need you just need this. Yeah. For date handling, we will see how we can handle. Oh, we might need we might need some of this actually in date handling, just to demonstrate certain things. Okay, so let's end here for today, and then next time we'll continue with what we'll continue with char index. We have char index. I'm not so concerned about reverse. But we will just speak briefly about it. So basically, reverse is to reverse whatever you have written. So for example, if I use the reverse word on John, it will write John in the opposite. So instead of John, it will write Nhoj. That's what reverse does. So as simple as that. Then cast is very important. Cast is another important concept. Convert is another important concept. So 1, 2, 3, very important. If we want to finish with strings, yeah. Okay. So we continue next time. I will send the notes. Whilst I think Juliet recorded, so she would send the video. All right. Thank you so very much for coming. See you Tuesday.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.